For a while, it got to a point where I was reminding my husband what day was recycling. I was reminding my kids what day was Spanish, and I never felt off duty. Now, at the beginning of summer, I just lean over in front of our home assistant and brain dump all of it in one bulk session. Then I'm done with all the reminders for that year. AI gets a lot of hype for the big stuff, but the thing that actually lightened my guest mental load, it wasn't anything fancy. It was no fancy workflow. It was finally getting herself out of being the chief reminder officer for good. So, coming up, we're going to talk about why starting with the stuff you dread is the best AI strategy, how to run your entire summer like a project manager in a way that I promise you is not going to feel like it's boxing you in. It's actually going to free you. And the one AI habit you could probably haven't tried yet that could change your entire week. Hey y'all, I'm your host, Courtney Cecil. Welcome back to the Life Management System, the show built for working moms who are doing all the things but still feel behind. Here we trade burnout for boundaries and survival mode for something that actually feels like a life. So, inside this episode, I'm excited to host Sarah Dooley, the founder of AI Empowered Mom and the host of AI Empowered Mom podcast. And there, she helps parents use AI, no surprise, to lighten the middle load and reclaim their time. She's a mom of three, including twins, and brings a rare blend of tech experience, consulting mindset, and real life parenting to everything she does. So, Sarah and her business, AI Empowered Mom, helps focus on how to create like calm, practical, essentially no hype guidance to help moms build simple systems, delegate wisely, and create more space for joy, rest, and the parts of the life that actually matter while using AI. Yes, please to all of that. Yes, please to more joy and rest. Sarah, I'm sure everyone is salivating over what I am confident will be a meaty conversation. Welcome to the Life Management System.
Courtney, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this since we met.
I know, right back at you. Okay, so let's get into the meat of it. You started experimenting with generative AI at home. First of all, I do want you to just break down for people what generative means. That sounds intimidating to somebody who's not really in the AI world in the way that you are. So let's also account for that. But what were some of your earlier aha moments that made you think, hold on, time out. I am pretty sure other moms can also take advantage of this.
Sure. So first, generative, it feels like AI just burst on the scene, but actually artificial intelligence has been around for over 50 years. Actually, going back to the 1950s is when the term was first coined. And artificial intelligence can mean so many things. It just means computer systems that try to think in the way that humans do or simulate some human thinking. Generative AI came on the scene, burst on the scene with ChatGPT's model, November 30th, 2022. A lot of tech people remember exactly where they were. Most moms, it was just a regular day, doesn't even matter. But generative AI came out and it was different because generative AI takes huge amounts of data, trains models to respond based on what's in the data, what their training is, and if they can't find in their training, they generate a response or create something. So generative AI are tools like ChatGPT, like Microsoft Copilot, like Google Gemini, like Anthropic's Claude, and they are great at generating new songs, code, text, video, all in the name of creating some type of new content. And what's special about generative AI is you don't have to have a coding background. You can communicate with it in using your own natural language because it's built on natural language processing, which is a predecessor of generative AI, another form of AI. It sounds kind of fancy, I guess, to say generative AI. But when we say generative AI, we just mean those chatbots that have an LLM behind them that can generate or create new content. And some of my early aha moments first, I think when I was using it to do things that I didn't want to deal with, like create my meal plans or research trips, maybe if I was going somewhere for work, but I wanted to have some fun on the side, or if we're going on a road trip and I wanted to optimize it, I'm a maximizer at heart. Generative AI was like fun for me in the early days. Plus, I could explore my kids' interests. They wanted stories that were like built around the characters that they love. Those were the kind of things that told me like, we're dealing with something a little bit new here. But when it really started to change for me in my life is when I realized that suddenly things were more peaceful at home because my mental load was a little bit lighter. And I know my husband noticed it too. And since we brought AI, generative AI specifically into our life, everything goes a little bit smoother around here because the mental load is a lot lighter for all of us in running this little household.
I love, Sarah, that you use the word maximizer. One of my skip levels before she reported to one of my DRs, she used to tell me that too. She's like, gosh, Courtney, you were like the biggest maximizer I know. I'm like, I don't know exactly what that means, but I think that's a compliment and it sounds like a really good thing. I have never heard anybody use it but her. So I know no wonder, Sarah, that you're my people. Like we both have, similar energies, similar ages, similar backgrounds.
Mhm.
And then you're also a maximizer. That's awesome. Okay, so the funny thing about maximizing is like we are figuring out how to fit all the things in to like
Right.
get the most out of life. And yet that can either feel really hard and clunky and put pressure,
Mhm.
or we can simplify things to make it more approachable and to make it more possible. So, what are some of those things that either you did or that you recommend parents do to simplify what seems like something is otherwise overcomplicated in order for them to get more out of life? Like, how can AI help provide simpler solutions to something that otherwise just feels really heavy, clunky, friction, whatever it may be?
Okay, I've got two tips for you, and they're kind of like opposites. The first one is to start with the stuff that you hate, the thing that you dread, the stuff that drains you. Like for me, it's writing thank you notes when I really want to express my feelings, but I don't want to sit down and, use my hand and think through all of those things. I want people to feel my gratitude. So thank you notes is one. Or like going on a trip as a maximizer. I know that I want to like make the most out of this time, but I don't want to spend a bunch of time, so much time packing and planning and organizing before that I'm already in a bad mood when we go on a trip. So thinking about those things, look at us with our, for those not on video, we
I
even got
know.
our matching drinks
Such
here.
a such a suburban mom here. Like,
um, okay, well, when I think about the things that drain me, I give those to AI. And that's what I recommend to other parents too. Think about the things that you don't want to deal with. And this one example always sticks in my head from one of my early AI empowered mom classes. A mom was talking about how much the mail drained her. She hated going to get the mail. She hated dealing with everything that came in. It was just like something she dreaded every day. And it's so little, but like your mail doesn't have to get you down. So we opened up an AI tool and got herself a strategy to like reduce the amount of mail she was getting, get her off junk mail list, assign picking up the mail to her kids, like set up a mail homes organization system in her household. Like that is not important for everyone. What's important is starting with the thing that you drains you or that you dread or whatever. Get something off your plate that you don't want to deal with. And then the flip side would be think about the things that bring you joy. What are the things that you love that you want more of in your life? And either use AI to get some space so that you can do those things, or even use AI to add scaffolding around it and support you in doing those. So I, Courtney and I were visiting earlier, and I mentioned that I just booked my first hotel for a travel sports team. My daughters are now embarking on our first adventure as a family into traveling sports. And not this weekend, but next weekend is going to be the first time that we ever go away as a family around one kid's sport. The sport is softball. And what brings me joy is making sure that like everybody, we have some good family connectivity time. We have some good meals and everybody gets something special out of this weekend. So I was actually in line at CVS just thinking about this. And I thought, okay, the hotel is booked. How can I make the most of this? So I opened up Claude and I'm like whispering into Claude and got a little prompt to say, find me a great restaurant so that we can go and have a special family dinner and give me something that's close by that I can pop off and take my twins to really enjoy. I got two ideas. We've got a great restaurant to go for dinner called the Hitchin Post in Shirts, Texas. That's outside of San Antonio and a beloved restaurant apparently. And then we're going to go visit a cave that's right out there. So that's me like finding time to, squeezing in a little bit of joy in something that I already have to do. And AI is wonderful for either of those two things, either maximizing your joy or getting something off your plate that you don't want to deal with.
so I love this. Every conversation I have with you, Sarah, I just get so energized by. God, we're such the same person. But I was telling one of my clients earlier this morning, actually. So she's a cardiologist. We have to connect outside my group program because of it. And we were having our one-on-one this morning, and she was talking about researching using AI and just research in general to like over plan vacations essentially. And I was like, listen, the thing that I need you to understand about this is the having the most perfect like answer is not like that might be like getting to a 10 out of 10 in the restaurant you choose when you travel might be worth it if that's your thing. Like if you
Mhm.
value like foodie stuff more than anything, then sure. But if that's not what you value, giving and releasing pressure over to something like AI, let it solve it for you.
Right.
Or just like it's just not worth it. It is not worth the pressure and the planning, the time you spend planning to do that one thing. So what I hear you saying between the sheets here, Sarah, and the messaging is you are not like upholding the highest um quality to the output that you're getting. You are shortchanging in the interest of what you really value, which is a quality time with your girls.
Yes. I recently interviewed this wonderful woman, Joanne Crone. Maybe I think we
Yes.
run in
Yeah,
some of the
I
same circles.
Joanne, yeah, Joanne and I had our Monday. We might have been having the same conversation.
Joanne introduced me to the guilt equation, and the guilt equation is that take your expectations and then think of what you're able to accomplish, and the guilt lives in the gap between those things. And for me, going on a trip, this trip is for kids sports, so my expectations are low, and what can I accomplish? Also low. I'm tightening up the gap right there, but I'm using AI to just knock out and say, yes, you can get in one fun trip. You can get in one fun side outing, and then we can get in one fun meal. And now look, there's no gap between what I can do and what my expectations of the trip are. There's going to be no guilt coming out of this. So that's where AI really comes through and helps me.
Yeah. Well, and also, so I talk a lot about what I call highest and best use items. And in your language, Sarah, you just talked about what drains you. So using the mail system that you essentially helped this woman create a system, which is
Mm-hmm.
that's all I do. Like I help my clients build systems that make their lives easier to manage. So same. But I use the language highest and best use. And to your point, if something really drains you, it's probably not your highest and best use. It's draining you because it's certainly not bringing you joy, but it's probably something you struggle a little bit more with. It feels a little less natural or doesn't align with something that you really deeply value. But what better partner than a relatively inexpensive to free AI to take that stuff off your plate?
Yes, yes. And I'm going to vote for the relatively inexpensive part because, a lot of parents used to ask me, like, do I need to pay for AI? And my answer, maybe going back a year or two, was no, you don't. You can experiment and figure out which tool you like and what works for you. And you can get a lot out of these tools using the free version. But now we're learning more about how these tools work and that the companies that create them, they are operating a business. And so we're paying one way or another. We're either paying our $20 a month to get access to the tool with a little bit more assurances of privacy, or if we're using the free version, we're paying with our data. And that data is being used to train the model and make it better for other people in the future. But I'm answering the question that you didn't ask, but what I recommend for folks is to use, if you're going to be talking about your family, your life, information that you wouldn't want out there used to train models in the future, let's go for the low cost versus the free model.
Oh, I love that. I am so glad you answered it. And I think people would also organically be like, their next question would be like, okay, well, what do you recommend I use? And I'm sure you'd eventually get that there somewhere else in this conversation, Sarah. But I got to just go straight to that punchline because I heard you say, I can't remember if it was this conversation or another one that I think you said Claude in this one. But like, I definitely use Claude. I use Perplexity because I do a lot of research and consulting work. But when you think about I guess the barrier to entry and then the gold standard, what comes to mind for you by way of tooling and how might people use one in one circumstance versus another in another?
I think what I recommend to most parents is to think about where you already are with technology. Are you a Google household? You're running on Google Workspace, you use a Google Calendar, you're using Gmail, then Gemini might be a great tool for you. If you are ex-corporate like we are, you're running a Microsoft girly, you live in Outlook, you're maybe having Teams meetings, Microsoft Copilot is a go-to for you. And while
I
Microsoft
even have
Copilot,
my Gmail go through my Outlook.
some of us grew
All
up in corporate and we love
I
Copilot.
know.
Okay.
All of my
We love
other
Microsoft.
entrepreneur friends, I feel like use Zoom and like G Suite for everything. I'm like, no, I need my Gmail to go through Outlook. I only use Teams for meetings. They're like, Teams is so clunky. I'm like, you don't know how to use it.
So
Corporate girl.
exactly. I think this is perfect to think about the systems where you already are, your current tech stack, to use some IT lingo, and then pick the large language model and the chat bot that is where you already are. There's no need to go outside and look for another one because for the most part, whether it's a Google, a Microsoft, Anthropic, OpenAI, these companies are competing very tightly to see who's going to have the most features. And as for the everyday user, like you and me, we don't need the latest and greatest model. Any of those will be fine. And our lives will be easier if we're using a tool that already works with our current systems where we're already living with technology.
Makes complete sense. Okay, so let's pull in the thread of like we're sitting in work. You come from a consulting IT background. Like I have like Six Sigma black belt, project management professional, all the things like very similar aligned in terms of the core competencies. And in all of that, we very much treat life like a project. And that is, I think, how you and I both approach the work that we're doing with moms. We help moms also figure out how to treat life like a project, how to build systems, how to essentially treat our home life and problem solve in the same way we would problem solve at work. So okay, it's the start of summer. Parents are either starting like the camp life or they are starting some sort of change, like fast forward to the end of summer, they're going back to school. Like there are all these big chunks of life that they are engaging with. How would you essentially superimpose this thinking, Sarah, of project management into the way that these moms manage their life?
There's something to me very freeing about, which sounds funny because using project management, which means imposing structure and systems and processes around the work that you do, but it's freeing to me to think about life in terms of projects because projects have a beginning and an end. They have a goal in mind. They have something you're working towards, and then you can move on. And maybe you repeat that project or maybe you don't. A friend of mine always talks about how like everything in life is a season. Her name is Di. She's Diana. Shout out Di. She's my best friend. But I love that because we could think about when things get hard, okay, we're just in it right now, but we're not going to be in this place forever. I think that's why it appeals to me so much to use project management tools to apply them to my life and help make it a little bit easier. So you asked about summer, and really I live in my Claude projects at home. Claude is the tool that I use most often for managing my life when it comes to AI at home. And projects are just smart folders within Claude. Anybody can set up a project. You don't have to have a paid account. And I think at the time that we're recording, I think you can have like 5 or 6, even if you're just paying for free. And if you're just using it for free, and if you have a paid account, you can have so many more than we would ever need. And within a project, you can include detailed instructions about what the topic of that is and context for Claude or whatever AI tool you're using to know about you and your family and your life. So if summer is our project and we want to make the most out of the summer, or we want to reduce our mental load and make it a little bit lighter and easier for us, then you can go into Claude, create a project with instructions, say my family is shifting into a new season. There's no school. We're going to camps. We eat different meals. This is what meals look like. This is what our calendar looks like. And I want help with making the most out of the summer or getting through the summer without pulling our hair out, whatever the goal might be. And then I start a different thread for all different topics. So within that project, I start one chat where I'm talking about my trips, start one chat where I'm talking about local activities, start one where maybe I'm talking about meal planning, or my mom mentioned this morning, spicy watermelon salad. I'm like, I got to refresh my meals to get ready for some good summer foods. I wanted to put that in my chat. And then I'm specific about how I name each of those. And that way, Claude is holding the context. And I can just keep those going throughout the summer, keep my ongoing chat going for little trips and big trips, keep our camps organized. I give Claude access to my Gmail so that it knows what's on my Google Calendar and can tell me, okay, here's the camp that's coming up. Here are all of the things that you need to get prepared week by week. I do a weekly reset every Sunday night. We get prepared for the week, and Claude does the prep for me for that. I probably should give it some instructions on how we'd like to reset in the summer versus throughout the year. And then there's 2 more things that I do to ensure that this summer goes well and next summer goes well too. And this is also from a project management standpoint. Courtney, I bet you will enjoy this. And that is starting with a project kickoff and then ending with a postmortem. Yes, or in tech, we call it a retrospective. So at the beginning of the year, when I'm setting up that project and putting those instructions, kind of thinking about what do I want to get organized. And I do have a goal for this summer. My goal for this summer is to chill out and just have fun. Try and make my days every day have a little bit of fun built into it. As a mom whose life and work is so deeply entwined, sometimes it can feel like everything is life, everything is work is work everywhere. There's no escaping from it. But I want to make sure that this summer there's a little bit of fun built in every day. So I even put that, I told Claude, this is my goal. Summer should be fun, quoting Summer House on Bravo for any fans out there. And I want to make sure that that is like my guiding North Star for the year. So kind of in my kickoff, I set my goal and I'm thinking about it using my AI tool. And at the end of this summer, I will have to do a look back. And the way that I do those is just open up voice mode and just talk. This is how the summer went. Here's what went well. Here's what didn't go well. Here's where I met my goal and having fun. Here's where I failed. Last summer, I had a different goal, and that was to spend the most time traveling and like soak up all of these big trips that we had. In some ways, it went very well. In other ways, it was really, really hard. And I'm never going to do a travel week and then a home week, travel week, home week, travel week, home week. We did this zigzag pattern last year. And because of the retrospective that I did last year, I know already this year that's not how we're doing things.
I love that. Consultant die hard. Like it's just hard to shake it, right? It's kind of like my industrial and systems engineering underpinning. I cannot shake the things I have learned there, but it is part of why I'm able to do life the way I am, because it's such a part of my DNA. So one of the things that you said that I just think is so important in allowing you to have that space for joy, Sarah, is that you plan. Because I'm with you. I'm a full believer that planning, even though it sounds restrictive, it sounds like the type B's absolute nightmare. But when you have things planned, you know how and when and by whom things get done. So
Right.
you know all of the essentials are cared for. So as an example, like very practically speaking about summer pickups and drop-offs, if you and your partner know I've got kids this day and I've got the like or this time or this pick like I've got all mornings and you've got all evenings or vice versa. Like if you already have that declared, you're not bobbling the decision making the day of and
Right.
wondering, can I take that meeting? Can I say yes to my friend that asked for the happy hour? Can I go for the walk? You don't have to wonder whether or not that's possible. You already know it's possible because you've planned. So
Right.
I am convinced, Sarah, that you're better positioned to have the freedom to say yes to fun
Mm-hmm.
because you've planned.
Completely agree. And then it also helps me if I can let go of guilt, maybe, and
Mm.
shame or regrets, then that will also open up space for me to have more fun. And this is so silly, but last summer, the girls did 3 weeks of camp at the same place where I work out. It's here. I live in Austin. We have a beautiful Jewish community center. That's where we're members of it, and the girls go to camp there. And I also love working out there, going to yoga. They have a beautiful sauna. I love spending time in the sauna. Last year, 3 weeks of drop offs and pickups every single day at the JCC. And guess how many times I went in for a workout? That would be zero because I didn't plan and I didn't manage my calendar. It was just everything was so squished at the end of the year. So I knew that because of my postmortem. And I still have those like regrets. But after I just talked through that with myself and AI last summer, I could let go of that regret a little bit. And already at the beginning of this year, I have already blocked that time on the calendar. I can let go of that shame and regret. I can't wait for their weeks of camp when they're going to be there. And I will be getting my workouts in because I made a plan for it.
Yeah, girl, you do you. I love that. Okay, so when you talked about the integrate like little integration of your Claude with your calendar and how it helps you plan for what's coming up and that sort of thing. Like inherently, one of the things that moms talk about the most, or working moms specifically, is we carry so much mental load, but inherently that also helps probably alleviate some of that for you, Sarah. But I'm sure AI offers a lot more than just like help me plan what I need to pack. What are other parts of the mental load that many parents carry around that can realistically be handed off to AI versus what do you think inherently needs to still hang with the human?
We talked about meal planning. We've talked about trip planning. We've talked about, kind of summer organization and goal setting. AI is great at all of those things. And many moms that I talk to are already using them. But deeper under the surface, I think there are a lot of ways that we can also get help from AI. Maybe aren't as intuitive, but when it comes to like learning new things, whether it's us or our kids, homework help. AI is incredibly powerful when it comes to homework help. Now, I don't want to release my kids into the world of AI on their own, but Notebook LM is a tool from Google, which is so amazing at creating podcasts or video tailored to a certain age group. You can feed it the content that you have and help your kid in their mode of learning, or for us, if we're trying to learn something new or pick up a new skill, learning new things and advancing our skills. Also, like strategizing, I guess, or prioritizing, thinking about the things that you want to achieve out of your life. And as we go through those seasons, AI is brilliant at taking the jumble of all the things that we're working on, or depending on what you give it access to, it can even look at your calendar, look at the emails that you're answering, and help you see what are the gaps that you might be missing, and what are some things that you might be able to clean up in your own life. I think AI is so helpful at helping us find gaps, see white space that we might not be able to identify ourselves. And I'm never going to let AI set my priorities for me. I'm still me and I know what's important to me, but it's so good if I say what my priorities are and then we can take a look at how I'm actually living. AI is really good at helping me kind of bring visibility to the gap between the way I'm living and the way I want to be.
Yeah, I love that you called out that you're the one setting the strategy and priorities. Sarah, we have just recently talked about this, but I talk about the 10-80-10 rule a lot, where as a mom, you're the one setting the priorities and the strategy. Like you're the one setting the vision, you're the one setting the strategy. You delegate the other 80% to your team at work, to your family, to whoever you outsource your help to. My house manager is the person who cooks for me, all that stuff. And then you buttoned up in the back end. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly how it sounds like you're leveraging AI. And I think that that's genius. The other thing that you kind of didn't say, but you kind of did when you were talking about Notebook LM, which is a really cool tool, helping with homework. You know what I just had an insight on, and I feel silly that I haven't thought about this before. AI can freaking check my kids' homework. Like instead of
Yeah.
me having to do the checking myself and like going through all the mental calculations, why the heck am I not just putting that into AI and having it answer it for me? Like, what am I doing? And how have I not put together that like connection until now?
Especially when it comes to the new math, like that is not for me. I'm going to need to take a picture and let AI take a quick look. And then if there's a problem, I can work it through with her. But I do not need to spend that time thinking through each of these problems. I just need to give her a check. If she's come up with something wrong, then we can work through it together. But otherwise, let's just pass that on through.
Yeah, exactly. Like I feel so silly. I didn't think to take the picture and be like, where did he get it wrong? Where did he get it right?
Yeah,
And then yeah, like
exactly.
I will help with the extra learning, but there's no reason that I also need checked and whether or not I can add or multiply those problems. Like I've got access
It's
to a
my
calculator.
business.
So no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know, like, and just don't ask about mental math. Like that's one thing I don't need any more mental math pressure in my life.
Agreed.
Okay, so there are a lot of things that AI can help with and help make faster, Sarah, but are there any things that you have either experimented with or you have seen done where it's like, you know what? The juice isn't worth the squeeze there. Like it just feels so much harder to do that with the AI. It's just not worth it.
Okay, two things come to mind, and I guess they're both pretty personal for me. And that's probably because the answer here is like we have to think about our own values, like you share with the families that you work with, the working moms that you work with. You have to look at your own values and then figure out how you're going to apply that to your life. For me, things that didn't work, things that I don't delegate to AI or spend time with AI with, is one, what's going on between my husband and me, our marriage. Now, when I first was experimenting with AI, I was doing a lot more venting. Like, here are the things that are bothering me. Here's what I wish was different. Here's where we're getting caught up in delegating or figuring out tasks between us or how we're managing things in our household. And pretty quickly, I grew out of that because it didn't just, could be helpful from a work management standpoint, but when things bled into like sharing more of our personal life with AI, it's something I just don't feel comfortable with. Same thing with like kids'
Probably
behavior
became an
problems.
echo chamber for yourself too, to where like you could easily stay stuck in the victim mentality or the just kind of like building a intentional husband hater probably doesn't lead to healthy outcomes.
Exactly. And even if I prompt it to say, explain his point of view or help me meet in the middle, there's still that sycophancy that's built into these models to keep us using them. So I spend a lot less time talking to AI about the human challenges that happen in my household and a lot more time freeing up space so that I can tackle those head on or talk to my therapist, my human therapist about it. And the second thing that I don't do as much with AI is when I first got Microsoft Copilot the summer of 2023. I was so excited. We were among the first at my company at that time to get Microsoft Copilot licenses, like the first 5 companies in the world. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never starting with a blank page again. I'm going to let AI write my first draft of everything. And that was fun for a little while. And, for some things where it's like very rote and it really knows all the context and has great training and there's not a lot of creativity or flexibility needed, then yes, AI is still good at taking the first draft. But I have totally changed my tune. I used to think, okay, let AI be the writer and I'll be the editor. And now I think I'm the writer, let AI be my editor, find the gaps, help me identify issues, take different perspectives, read this from somebody who's different from me and tell me what is coming through, or here's the message I was trying to convey. Is that coming through? And I much more use AI now as my editor and use myself as the writer. So those are the two things where I've pulled back from AI.
I had an internet friend that I'm close with. Her name's Catherine Brown. So she spends a lot of time in marketing tech space. And we were talking about how early mistakes were resulted in a lot of AI slop regarding just talking in ways that are not authentic to our voice and just really took what could be a very human message and made it feel very vanilla. So I love that you have kind of pivoted there. Well, what other, from a like an AI hygiene perspective, what other habits do either you rely on AI for, or do you think are important to make the most of your relationship with it? Like, are there any things that you do on a regular basis that you're like, because I leverage it for this, or in order to make it more effective for me, I need to do this?
Yes, well, because I have my own small business, and to stay on top of things, I have like certain activities that I do every month and every quarter. Do my books, make sure that all my invoices are handled, those type of things. But AI management is a part of that too. And on a quarterly basis, I'm checking in on all my projects, like checking in on the instructions, checking in on the context, making sure that it's up to date. Because if I'm not, as things are evolving, I have a project for my podcast, I have a project for my newsletter, and I'll have a whole quarter's worth of work. And if I'm not regularly updating the context and the instructions, then it's not growing and changing with me. So that quarter close time, it's not only time for me to check on my invoices and close my books, but it's also time for me to update the project, the projects that I use most often. And then on a monthly basis, I have certain prompts that I run and let AI, I could build an agent and let this happen on its own, but I like to do it like when I'm in the right headspace to get it. But I have certain projects where I love AI to check in and see how we're doing working together. I send it out to find me speaking opportunities, find podcast hosts that I might like to connect with, but I also ask, how are we working together and what could be optimized? And even Claude itself is really good at giving me suggestions like, here's where you're copying and pasting. Here's where we're dropping things between us, or here's where we've lost context. So that's happening on a monthly basis. On a monthly basis, I spend have my CEO day where I'm checking in on all my metrics, looking at my dashboards, and then talking to Claude a little bit, how we can work together a little bit better. That's been super helpful.
I love that. Do you find that you need to update your scripts fairly regularly, or have you found that it doesn't really outgrow, like once you kind of got it locked in, quarterly is sufficient to update it?
Quarterly is enough for me.
Okay.
Things are not changing that fast here for me to need to do it more often than that, but that might be different for different folks.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it is for me, but I've just migrated over to Claude in the past probably 2 months. So I think part of it is also just continuing to lock in and get my style guide really cemented. So it was probably a nature of that. Okay. That's good to know. Okay. So many moms are probably for sure using AI at home, Sarah. For those that are listening, as our last question, what is one simple like home business case? So you're like, if you feel compelled to try something new relative to AI this week, like what's the one thing you would encourage them to do?
Okay, this is pretty particular to my family, but it has been the one thing that has helped my mental load the most around the household.
Mhm.
And it's not even with, Claude in my computer or ChatGPT on my phone. It's with my home voice assistant. We are a family
Yeah.
that uses an Amazon voice assistant.
Mhm.
And the task that is so draining to me is reminding everybody in my family of everything. For a while, it got to a point where I was reminding my husband what day was recycling, so that he would take the recycling out. I was reminding my kids what day was Spanish. So they'd pack their Spanish binder, doing just reminding constantly all the time. So it's like I was never off duty and it got in the way of our connections. So now at the beginning of the semester and the beginning of the summer, I just lean on the counter right in front of and we've got an Amazon one here, but I just, prop my elbows on the counter and kind of lean over in front of her and start talking about all the things that people need reminders on. And I do it in one bulk session. So recycling here comes every other week. Get a reminder out for Bill. What we need to bring to camp differs day to day. What our camps are each week differ week to week. I dump all of that into Alexa, and then I am done with reminders for this year and for the summer. And what has been beautiful about this is not only does it free me from that annoying day-to-day job, gives me more space for connection, but it's also built a little more agency in the wonderful people that are around here, that when they forget something, my 6-year-old twins or my 8-year-old or even my darling husband, when something gets dropped, that's on them. It's between them and our home voice assistant, and I'm really the one that's out of it. I'm still doing the work setting up the reminders. They're getting better about setting some of their own. But let me tell you, moms, if reminding everyone is on your task list, get it off and delegate it to a voice assistant in your household.
I love that. You know, in our boy, we have two reminders that go off literally every day. Oh, this is what life with boys is like, Sarah, relative to your probably very quiet, just peaceful life with girls. I have two reminders. One is at 7:10 every day. A reminder goes off to remind me we're good boys. Like that's literally what the reminder says. Like we're good boys. I think they did something that was like absolutely not good and feeling some guilt over it. And the next one is my oldest wouldn't put a reminder that goes off once again, literally every day that says Wyant is fat about my youngest. And like
Oh my
Wyant's
God.
clearly not fat. He is one of the leanest muscular people I know. And it's like, yep, this is pretty much life with boys. So our reminders have been less than effective, but they make me smile every day,
I
and I
love
just hope
it.
they never go away. What? Okay, so just a clarifying question
Mhm.
for those reminders before we move to our lightning round questions. Do people have to be around an Alexa to hear that? So as an example, let's pretend that I have a reminder that goes off every day at 7 o'clock to take, or every Monday at 7 o'clock to take out the trash.
Mhm.
And generally 7 o'clock is when we're sitting around eating dinner. Now, if we're by the dinner table, we're going to hear that. But if we're outside hanging by the pool or playing basketball, we're not.
Mhm.
So I have it, I see it on my phone. But what about your girls? I'm assuming they don't have electronic access. Do they have to have exposure to that? Or is there like, can you set it in a way that kind of continues to go off every hour or whatever until you tell it to shut up?
I'm sure you can. I mean, it goes off until you stop it, full stop. So, and I know that because we go on vacation and the reminders are still going. Eventually they will stop, but they will play for a tremendously long amount of time. So if we're just out in the backyard practicing softball or hitting the ball, and then we come back in and it's reminding us that it's recycling day, it will still be going off. And
Oh,
then
so you have
even
it more of like an alarm.
well, if we use it's a it is set as a reminder, but they call them
Okay.
different things in the different systems. But yes, it is
Okay.
set as a reminder, and it keeps going. It doesn't just say it once. It just, it will say it
Oh,
over
okay.
and over and over.
Okay, mine does not do. I use an Alexa too, and mine does not do that. So I think that there must be a setting that's my life has been changed because of this because I tried that. And it
Mhm.
works for trash, but guess what? Like half the time we're not there, so it
Mhm.
doesn't actually help, but this changes things.
Tweak your settings and check out the new AI-enabled offerings from Alexa. Some of them are pretty helpful. So if you haven't turned
Okay.
that feature on yet, it's worth it.
What is there anything in particular you've gotten out of those features?
You can connect your Google. I'm a broken record about my Google Calendar. You can connect your Google Calendar to it, so then the calendar is more visible. Some people now are using like home systems, like a skylight or a hearth calendar,
Yeah.
and those are wonderful to bring that visibility. If you have a home system that has a screen on it, then you can do that simply with those tools too. So connecting your Google Calendar has been helpful for my kids to know at least where is mommy? Am I at my book club? hub? Am I
Right.
traveling? They can look there
Yeah.
and see what's on my
Yeah.
calendar and see where I
I
am.
love that. I love that. Okay. Quick run through the lightning round questions, Sarah. First, what is your go-to stress busting activity?
My go-to stress busting activity is to get outside and walk, get my feet on the ground and move it around. And I live in a hilly neighborhood in Northwest Austin, and I have three other amazing mom pals in the neighborhood. And we're not walking all the time, but every week somebody is texting either in the morning or in the evening, want to do a few laps. And then whoever's available, we're popping out and doing a few laps together. So whether it's a good day or a hard day, somebody's going to text and say, want to get together, and then we'll go out and do a few laps. That is how I get the stress out.
I love that. So I've been talking a lot lately about how self-care is not, it's not getting your hair. If I ask, it all came up when I was talking to a client and I asked her about her, like how she's prioritizing her self-care. She's like, oh, well, I never miss a hair appointment. I always get my nails done. I get my massage and chiropractor in every month. I was like, no, that is not self-care. Like self-care is something that recharges your battery. Like sitting there getting your hair dyed does not recharge your battery, I'm assuming.
But for
But
her, could that be the thing?
well, I could. It does not. I asked her the question, but to
Oh,
be clear, like I did ask her, like, how much do you enjoy that? And she was like, no, I just got to do it. Like
none. I hate it.
yeah, I do. Yeah, I do too. And it turns out she also does. But you know what? Like something like getting to take laps with girlfriends where you really just get to turn it off for a little bit. That
Yes.
sounds like it probably is like truly like
It's
recharging.
wonderful. I love them, and I'm so lucky to have them in the neighborhood. And you just made me think of one really that is so silly. But one other thing, we talked about reading and how much I love reading. I am a super avid reader. I love to read, and I also hate drying my hair. So now I set up my Kindle and read my Kindle while I'm drying my hair. And that has become, that is not a self-care activity because I still hate blow drying, doing the round brush
Mhm.
and everything. But if I put my Kindle right there with a big font, then at least a terrible activity is a little bit better. So maybe if that, whatever recharges her, hopefully she can
Yeah,
add a
well,
little bit of
you
that
know
in her
what? That's exactly
activities.
what I do too. So I watch, I don't know, like I probably watch in total 15 hours of TV a year. Like I'm not a
Wow.
TV person. I'm a reader or more audiobooks, but that's because I hate drying my hair so much. I do the same darn thing, Sarah. Like you and I are such the same person, but
Yay.
that's where I have my iPad set up in my
Mhm.
bathroom counter.
Yeah.
And anytime I'm drying my hair, all 35 minutes of it, because I have so much hair, I am watching. That's when I watch my shows.
I
But
know, and it seems weird or slash gross to keep our devices in the bathroom, but this is how we're getting through life.
mine doesn't, like my iPad literally never leaves. I probably moved it twice and used it outside my bathroom twice a year, all of last year.
I
All of
love
it.
it.
Like it's ridiculous, but that's what I use it for. It's like my mini TV.
That's nice.
Okay. And knowing how much I normally ask what's the last book or podcast you loved. You cannot give a podcast misreader. You have to give a book, like, or at least have to give a book, I should say. What book?
Okay, I've got two books for you because we found out that where you grew up is kind of close to where my family is from, my parents and my aunts and uncles. And I've just read two fabulous books set in Virginia. One is Demon Copperhead, which gripped me.
It's a great one. Oh my gosh, that took place in like real Southwest Virginia.
And then the other one is a recent release called Mailman, and it's set in Blacksburg. And I know you went to
Wait,
Virginia
Virginia
Tech, right?
Tech? Wait,
Yes.
how have I never heard of this?
It was on.
Huh.
Okay, I use the Libby app from the library,
Yeah,
and
I'm a
once a
big Libby
week,
fan.
it will tell you, you can get one of these, skip the line and get one of these books. And when I saw that it was set in rural Virginia, I was like, let's find out what this is all
But
about.
Blacksburg specifically? Here it is,
Okay,
Mailman.
we're going to need a whole nother podcast to talk about the mailman book, but it's about a former consultant who becomes a mail carrier in rural, outside of Blacksburg, and all of his
Yeah.
experiences. And I can't wait to hear what you think of it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, it is only I only do audiobooks unless I'm at the beach. So it's not Libby does not have my audio, but you better believe this will be my next for anybody who's listening that has Amazon Music, which is where I get mine. I don't use Spotify. You get one Kindle or one audiobook for free every month.
Mhm.
So Mailman will be my next audiobook from Amazon. I cannot believe that. That's amazing. I can't believe I didn't hear about it. So good one. Okay. Last, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you eliminate forever?
Putting away the laundry. It would just a shoot would deliver it magically.
Or you can have a fairy do it like I do, Sarah.
Yes, that's
I don't
right.
do it either. I hate it also, and that is why I pay somebody to do it. Okay, so before I wrap up, thank you for coming, of course. And then where can people find you?
You can follow me on Instagram at AI Empowered Mom or check out my website, aiempoweredmom.com. I write a weekly newsletter and host a weekly podcast. Both of those are free and host also a lot of events and share great information. Do a lot of speaking for women, moms, parents, and caregivers on the topic of safe and responsible AI. So you can find it all
Awesome.
right there on my site.
Perfect. Well, Sarah, thank you for joining. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Again, slop in, slop out. Catherine Brown and I talked about that on episode 88. So I will also list that. We talked building your brand by controlling your digital footprint. So I will link that in the show notes if you're interested. But again, before you start working on all things AI, I recommend that you have a clear, healthy to-do list and you understand what it should look like. So that way you are not focused on the wrong things. If you are not sure how to productively manage your to-do list, then you can get my free guide on how to do that at www.workingmomsmovement.com/todo, TODO. I will list that in the show notes. But until next time, friends, if nobody's told you lately, you're doing a great job. You've got this, mama. If this conversation has you thinking about how you're building your brand and showing up digitally, you're going to want to hear episode 88. That's where I sat down with Catherine Brown and we got into controlling your digital footprint and building your brand based on your terms, not the other way around. That episode is a natural next step in everything that Sarah and I just talked about. So I'm going to link that in the show notes. See you there.